Through the steam, I saw a sign, Auschwitz. I didn't know what it was, but a minute later I found out, said Henry Meyer. Like so many others, Henry would go on to endure horrible torment under the hands of Nazi soldiers. Today, I will be talking about the Holocaust and other war crimes of World War II. The Holocaust serves as a reminder that power in the hands of bad people is a very dangerous thing. The Holocaust impacted the lives of millions of people, and horrible things went on within the camps that the prisoners were sent to. And illegal experiments were also conducted on the prisoners. Hitler was power hungry and would do anything to gain control over Europe, including murdering millions of innocents. Many different groups of people were sent to these concentration camps, but they had one thing in common. They were deemed inferior by Hitler. These groups included Jewish people, who were considered the number one enemy of the Nazis and were blamed for a number of things. Those with disabilities, homosexuals, anyone who resisted the Nazis or disobeyed them, gypsies, social outsiders, and prisoners of war were also sent to these camps. Millions were murdered and tortured in these camps. There are multiple ways of killing them, or were multiple ways of killing them, but gassing them was the most common way. Others were lined up and shot, beaten to death, starved, or died from diseases and illnesses that they would get when they arrived at these camps, because they were not the cleanest of camps because of the Nazis. They were given almost nothing to eat, and when they were given food, they were given some soup, a little bit of bread, and on occasion they were given some sausage or any kind of other meat that wasn't in good condition. Some of the first concentration camps to be liberated were Auschwitz, which was liberated by the Soviet forces, Buchenwald and Dachau, which were liberated by the American forces, and then in northern Germany, 2 camps were liberated by the British forces, and these camps were Bergen-Belsen and Neuengamme. Some well-known concentration camps are Buchenwald, Auschwitz, Dachau, and Bergen-Belsen. The estimated deaths in the previous camps are the following: Auschwitz, around 1.1 million people; Buchenwald, around 56,000 people; Bergen-Belsen, around 50,000 people; and Dachau, around 41,500 people. German doctors would conduct various illegal experiments on the prisoners. They would select some and experiment on them just because they just felt like it. There are around 15,754 documented victims, but the true number is believed to be more extensive. Survivors of these experiments were left with permanent injuries or multiple scars. Many of them died, though. The doctors who did these things were trying what became known as the doctors' trials. Many of these experiments included high-altitude experiments and experiments on twins. These 4 pictures are pictures from the experiments German doctors would conduct illegally on prisoners. On the left are experiments on twins, and on the right are high-altitude experiments. In total, the Nazis murdered around 6 million Jewish people and even more people that were not Jewish. Many Nazi generals and those with high-ranking positions were tried, and many were found guilty of many different crimes. These 5 pictures are pictures of the various Nuremberg trials and doctors' trials that took place shortly after World War II. Today in the U.S., there are museums dedicated to telling the stories of survivors of these camps or those who died, such as Anne Frank, whose diary is very popular and famous. Survivors were given tattoos when they arrived at these camps, usually on their arms, and they serve as a dark reminder of the things that they endured. The Holocaust shows people today that even when someone has a little bit of power, they crave even more. Hitler is a very good example of this, but there are many other leaders out there who were power hungry, would do nothing to stop getting more power. To forget the dead would be akin to killing them a second time. Elie Wiesel. Wiesel was a survivor of the Holocaust and would later on write the book Night, which is about his time in Auschwitz and Birkenwald from 1944 to 1945. Other survivors would go on to talk about their torment, but many remained silent, haunted by memories.